Is there a secret emergency service for the paranormal? How many espresso do I have to drink to see the face of God? Answers to these questions and more on this episode of This Paranormal Life! Hello! Hey! And welcome back to This Paranormal Life. Trying to do a yodel there. You are being joined by me, Kit Grimovena, this guy, Rory Friers, the host of TPL, the weekly comedy podcast where every Tuesday we try and get to the bottom of a different paranormal tale, deciding by the end of the episode whether we think it's real or not. Rory, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Kit. To briefly talk about your intro question, how many espresso need to be consumed before you see God himself? I have a little bit of insight into that because when I first moved to London and started my first job in the big city, it was at a company called IGN, and it was the first time I worked at a company that had a coffee machine. And I was like,
low bar to. It sounds like it's the first time you worked at a company then.
It was, yeah, in an office. I was like, wait a minute, where do I put the money? And they're like, no, you just push the button for what coffee you want, and you get it. Cha-ching. I was like, I'm going to make my money back here in no time. I didn't realize it was a espresso machine.
Okay.
So anytime I poured a coffee, it was like, how much is an espresso? It's like an inch of coffee in a
30
cup.
milliliters or something.
But I was too embarrassed to ask anyone about how to work the machine. So I just assumed I was pushing the wrong settings. So what I'd do is I would just tap it like
spam the button
5 times to fill up like a mug.
Aaron is sitting at his office chair just being like, I'll just wait till Rory, the new guy Rory's done with the machine, then I'll get a coffee. He's been there for ages.
He's on 9 espressos.
This 19-year-old is built different.
So I would, for a while, every morning drink a mug of espresso, which if you're not familiar with is an ungodly amount of caffeine.
Rory's teeth were completely brown. It was like drinking mud water.
So, we'd have the Monday morning meetings and they'd be like, all right, well, it sounds like everyone's excited about the coverage of the new movie that's coming out. Rory, can you tell us about how the news videos are going? And I'm like, going good so far. Filmed 2 today, gonna film 2 tomorrow, gonna film some in the afternoon, gonna film some in the morning. How are you guys doing? How's everybody doing today?
Anybody got a mouth guard? I've been grinding on my teeth this morning. I think I'm not gonna have any teeth left by the end of the day.
You guys get hungry? Sometimes I get hungry, I just start chomping the air. Chomp. My teeth explode. Ow, God, that really hurts. I should go to the hospital. Not now, though, gotta make more videos. So I think I probably had up to 7 one morning. I didn't see God. Saw the devil, though, in my own reflection in the bathroom mirror.
Yeah, the way they say, the devil's at the bottom of a whiskey jar or something like that. It's like for Rory, it was the coffee cup.
It was the bottom of the mug.
It was his Sports Direct mug.
But no, aside from that, I'm doing great. I'm excited. We're just only a few weeks into January, a brand new year, 2025. I don't know if the listeners of the podcast know this, but every year, me and my brother, we pick a name for the year.
So similar to the way the kind of Chinese culture will have like a, year of the rat, year of the
dragon,
ram,
the goat,
the sheep.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, we pick a term or a word or a phrase that sums up the energy that we want to capture in the year. So it started all the way back with the original one, which was the year of the grind.
Okay.
That might have been when I was drinking all that espresso.
I was going to say, was that something to do with coffee as well?
Then after the year of the grind was the year of the hustle. Year of the hustle, very similar in hindsight to year of the grind.
Yeah, so to be clear, you finished 12 calendar months of the grind and you were like, okay, I need to sidestep, not move forward or back here, just sidestep into hustling.
Right.
Which I'm worried sounds more like crime than actual hard work.
Yeah, the hard work didn't pay off.
Yeah.
So we had the year of crime, kind of doing things underhandedly.
So kind of went from working 9 to 5 to like playing dice in the alley.
Right. Last year was the year of big.
Okay. Yep.
Which was a good year.
Which I like. It's more abstract.
Yeah.
But it's like doing things big. What was the old ice cream ads? They said, eat life with a big spoon. Or something like that. It's a bit abstract.
Yeah, exactly. It's about going large. And then we thought long and hard about what we wanted this year to be. The council met, me and my brother, at the pub. Yeah. And we talked about all the options that could have been out there. I think he sent me a list. So I want to rattle through some of the options we had to choose from. Here are some of my brother's suggestions. See if you like any of these.
Okay, see if I can jump out to me.
The year of shred. The year of rush.
Oh, you have to know Russia's a bad one.
Year of the ride.
I mean, I like that. It's a bit more spiritual. It's like we're just taking the ride and see what happens.
Year of the leap.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty cool one.
Yeah.
Like leap year. It's a little play on that.
Okay, yep, leap. It feels culty. Feels like you're going to ask me to drink some Kool-Aid at the end of the year and I'll die.
It does. Or 7 espressos.
Yeah,
poisoned
we're going to
espressos.
take the great leap on New Year's Eve.
Year of the hustle. He put that one back in the mix. I didn't notice that. Year of the grindstone.
Okay, we're out of ideas. He could have stopped at 3. Grindstone?
And then finally, the suggestion that we came down on was 2025, the year of action.
Right.
And that's what we are in right now, guys, the year of action. And that's not just having an action-packed life full of cool things, but it's also taking action, making moves, you know?
Can you give me one example of some action you've taken in the new year? We are now, at the time of recording, 7 days in.
I drank 19 espresso this morning before work.
Okay, so really going back on your past actions.
Right, well, I need the energy to hustle and grind. That's right, all the characteristics of the years, they compound into the current year.
Okay, right, year of action.
Year of action.
I'll tell you what, as it pertains to today's investigation, year of action could be pertinent here. In terms of this might be an action-packed episode ahead of you.
Okay, I like that. You know what would have been a good one as well?
Go on.
The year of yes. I might save that for next year.
Okay.
Because that kind of works for This Paranormal Life. It's like the
Right.
year of double yeses.
Right, but we're not in that year, unfortunately.
No, this is the year of skepticism. heavy skepticism. Despite the fact the last 2 cases have come down on being definitively paranormal.
Yeah, would that be so crazy? Maybe we have to make this year the year of the yes retroactively. Depending on how today goes.
All right.
Rory, look, I like it. I like the energy you're taking. I think we borrow from the year of action and maybe the year of big for where we're going today.
Ooh.
We are going somewhere very cold, fitting for this cold January climbs. We have a fantastic cryptid case ready for you today. You ready to get stuck in?
I'm ready. Action.
Let's do it after, not to delay the action, but after a couple of words from today's sponsor.
No time for sponsors.
No, but
this is the year of action.
Right, but we promised the sponsors some action.
This is the year, we would have had ads in the year of the hustle or the grind.
Right.
But this is the year of getting it done.
I just don't know.
In fact, we can probably skip some of the establishing information. Just tell me the name of the guy right now. The monster.
No.
We'll decide whether he's real.
It's a little hard. I don't know if, Squarespace are going to, I don't know if you can put that down over email and kind of say, here's why we're going to cancel
we're really sorry.
The deal,
Yeah, we didn't have time to read the codes for BetterHelp.
I don't know who's going to pay rent for our studio.
The year of action.
With just saying it's the year of action. So can we read the ads?
The studio was like, we were hoping it was going to be the year of money and rent payments that are on time.
Yeah. Haven't informed our accountant yet.
Okay, a couple ads.
Okay, and then we're right into today's case.
Don't go anywhere.
And of course, every episode of This Paranormal Life is available ad-free over on patreon.com/This Paranormal Life.
And action.
It's May 1953, and Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay have just climbed their way into the history books. They have become the first mountaineers to successfully conquer Mount Everest.
Whoa.
It's one of the most inspiring stories of human perseverance from this time. Now, news of their achievements spread far beyond their homes of New Zealand and Nepal and took the entire world by storm. Both of these fellas received prestigious accolades, medals, and even knighthoods. All the attention was almost enough to make them forget something very strange that happened on the mountainside just a few days earlier.
Huh? What on earth? Tenzing! I've found something! Come and have a look!
Hillary stared into the snow before him, his mind racing through the possibilities. A series of huge footprints could be seen in the deep snow.
What could it be, Tenzing? A bear? An ape? Other climbers? None of it seems to fit. Have you ever seen anything like that?
Mr. Hillary, these are Yeti tracks. Yes, that is right. On this famous expedition, Hillary and Tenzing both described finding evidence of one of the most famous and secretive cryptids in the world, the Yeti.
This feels like a conversation they should have had before they left base camp. Because it's kind of like, You know, just climbing the mountain without a monster involved is already quite an accomplishment, quite a challenge.
Right.
So to be like kind of 30 minutes in and your guide's like, yeah, keep an eye out for the Yeti, by the way. You're like, the who now? The what? I probably wouldn't have come up here if I knew there was a giant dude.
You know, a bear, an ape, Tenzing. Have you ever... Tenzing? Tenzing is bolting it back down the mountain.
He's disappearing into the horizon on a toboggan. Like, Tenzing!
Yeah, Tenzing. So Tenzing,
shit.
to be clear, Tenzing, he's the Nepalese local mountaineer.
Right.
So Hillary is the New Zealander fella in this situation. So I think the idea here, is that Tenzing would have had a better local understanding of what was going on.
Right, maybe Tenzing didn't even realize other people don't know about this.
Yeah.
They're like, what? Oh, that? Yeti prints. Anyway, I'm thinking we go to the North Ridge here and take a slight turn. He's like, we're not going to talk about this?
Oh, do they not like the North Ridge? No, they love the North Ridge. Actually, it's incredibly dangerous, but it is the fastest way. Just don't look them in the eyes. Maybe Tenzing realized that Tenzing wants to climb. He wants to be the first to summit Everest. And he knows that the last couple times someone came to him with the project, they kind of switched off when he mentioned the Yeti. So he kept it quiet.
Right, for most of the
until
time.
a later moment.
Until it's too late to turn back.
Yeah.
Right, I get you.
And of course, they saw these tracks, this evidence of the Yeti, not just anywhere, but impossibly high on Mount Everest, the tallest mountain in the world. Now, this clearly made a huge impact on the two men, because even though they barely avoided death to summit this mountain, Hillary went back to climb Everest again in 1960, this time just to investigate the Yeti.
What? I didn't know this.
Now, we'll talk about that later expedition very soon. But Rory, first, how much do you know about the Yeti?
So little that I kind of can't believe we haven't covered it on the podcast already. We're like 403 episodes in. We really never talked about the Yeti?
It seems, yeah. I teased this a couple of weeks ago when you asked me, or a week ago, that we'd be talking about a case today, which I was really scratching my head and looking everywhere and going, how have we not done it? But my leading theory is that we ignorantly rolled in mentally the Yeti into Bigfoot.
Right. Or, I don't know, is the Abominable Snowman the same guy?
That is the Yeti, yeah.
That is the Yeti?
Yeah.
Damn, he had a rebrand.
But I think the Yeti might be the original local name, and the Abominable Snowman is kind of the Mad Men style Western rebrand. They were like, nah, Yeti, no one's going to go for that. Isn't that a name of cooler?
What a crazy name to change it to.
Yeah.
Because snowmen already exist as a thing, and they're very different.
Yeah.
Like, that makes it sound like a child made him one night, and he has a carrot nose and a hat.
Yeah,
and
the
a
English
scarf.
language has really changed, hasn't it? Like what's the most terrifying thing you can think of? A snowman? But get this, he's abominable.
Yeah.
He's downright dastardly.
Abominable as well is a word that now exclusively is really used for that creature.
We don't use it at all.
Uses that.
Yeah.
Yeah, how was your day today? Oh, abominable. No one says that.
We should bring it back.
Maybe we'll do that. The year of abominable.
I think, as we'll see, in fairness to us and other people, there are many similarities to the Bigfoot, of course. Despite us maybe not knowing that much about it off rip, it is one of the most famous, isn't it? It's one of those things it feels like you get popped out of the womb into the world, kind of knowing something about. I don't know, just in your DNA, watching cartoons and movies growing up.
Well, hey, I am here today to get educated. Show me my ignorance, Kit. I want to learn about this guy, the Abominable Snowman.
Sit my white ass down and learn.
Let's
and
do
listen.
it.
As I say, there are many similarities with Bigfoot, but the lore, the background is pretty much completely different. Stories of the Yeti have been passed down through countless generations of the indigenous people of the Himalayas, said to be found in...
Is that how that's pronounced?
Himalayas. I've been to the Himalayas on Google Earth, so I know a thing or two. Yeah, found in Nepal, India, Pakistan, Bhutan, and China, the Yeti is a large bipedal creature covered in hair, sometimes brown, sometimes black, sometimes all white, like a polar bear.
I think that's the one I'm mostly familiar with.
Right.
A depiction seen primarily from the Pixar movie Monsters, Inc.
Oh, that's a good point. I was trying to think what would be the most famous depiction, and I was going to like Scooby-Doo or something, but yeah, that's good.
Yeah, he's in that when Mike Wazowski and the big furry guy, Sully, thank you, get banished to the Himalayas.
Right.
They bump into the Abominable Snowman, who turns out was another monster who got banished in the universe.
That's good lore.
It's
I
a
like
good
that.
it's a good little pun.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in that one, he's a very friendly guy, lives up in a bunch of caves. So hopefully we're seeing something similar today.
Yeah, maybe that's why he's up there. And yes, in the 19th century, Western explorers started referring to it as the Abominable Snowman. Not a good username, like way longer than the name Yeti as well. Far, far easier to just call it Yeti. Witnesses say that this thing is between, stay with me here, 5 feet and 15 feet tall. Quite a large range, but hey, maybe we're talking about children too. This averages out about 8 feet tall. Its behavior is extremely elusive, normally timid, shy, but also occasionally aggressive. Now, I could rhyme off facts and figures about this thing, but even better, let's hear about a sighting. Maybe the most famous modern story of the Yeti concerns Eric Shipton. The respected British mountaineer was attempting to conquer Mount Everest in 1951 when he came across some intriguing footprints, just like Tenzing and Hillary would find in the coming years. Now, Shipton photographed the prints alongside his pickaxe for scale. The pictures caused huge public interest when they hit newspapers across the world. The footprints had 2 distinct large toes and 3 smaller digits close together. Thought to be the prints of 2 creatures, they measured about a foot long, and the pattern indicated an upright 2-legged species.
Okay.
Shipton went into detail writing about these prints, saying, "The print showed 3 toes and a broad thumb to the side. What was particularly interesting was the tracks showed a crevice. One could quite clearly see where the creature had jumped and used its toes to secure purchase on the snow on the other side.
He's getting a lot from a footprint.
We followed the tracks for more than a mile down the glacier."
Why? Look, I don't wanna put this guy on blast. It does seem like he might be slightly trying to distract people from the fact that he couldn't climb Mount Everest. So when he gets back, he's like, look, so we think it might be somewhere between 10 and 12 feet, covered in white hair. People are like, did you climb the mountain at all? Did you make it to the summit? It doesn't matter whether I made it or you don't hear what I'm saying.
Science and knowledge as we know it is out the window. The mountain doesn't even honestly matter anymore because, right, like, it's just a dumb mountain.
Isn't this a bigger achievement than climbing a rock? I've discovered an ancient beast.
Can
that
I
lives in
float
the
some
snow.
names? Shipton's Beast, Eric's Snowman, Rory. Take a look.
Holy moly. All right, Kid is showing me a lot of pictures right here. Are these the actual photos taken by Eric?
Yeah.
When he tried to climb up the mountain?
Yeah. I mean,
They're pretty high res.
I think you'll see from the pictures, this was worthy of distraction while climbing Mount Everest.
I mean, my God. Well, this is the thing, you know, if you're going to be especially one of the first dudes to climb this mountain, it's like being the first man on the moon. There's not a lot of footprints up there. There's not a lot of other stuff up there.
That's right.
So the things that you are seeing will have been relatively undisturbed for God knows how long. And because it's snow and ice, you know, footprints like this, presumably they can just stay there for very, very long periods.
That's a good question. I don't think they'd be able to stay there that long. Because I think if there's snowfall, I know we're getting ridiculously high into the clouds, but I think if there's snowfall at all,
they'd be covered.
It should be.
Get covered
eventually.
I think you're right, because don't they say, like, if someone gets lost on the mountain, they're like, we have 9 hours.
Although having said that, they do say, and stay with me here, true crime junkies, there is a thing on Mount Everest called Rainbow Road. Much less fun than the Mario Kart version. It is where
but just as dangerous.
All the people who've died on Mount Everest, their bodies are still there because you can't recover them, and the ice perfectly preserves them. So
it's all the rain.
So you'll be walking along, and all the brightly colored Patagonia raincoats just litter the path to the top of Mount Everest.
That's pretty
all
grim.
The dead bodies. It's crazy, isn't it?
That is, really depressing.
I don't know. I don't know, because apparently there is a bit then that they don't get snowed on.
Hey, all I know is sometimes in my refrigerator at home, if I leave a box of chicken nuggets in there for an extended period of time, It is like discovering a frozen artifact. The snow will conceal the nuggets themselves.
It's funny, isn't it? Yeah, when a glacier starts forming in your freezer, like it's like, these peas are mine now. I'm going to encase them in ice. You've got to get a pickaxe out.
Well, you know from living with me that I am not a lot of help around the house in any capacity. But the one thing that I love for some reason is defrosting a freezer.
Yeah, this guy might be a low-key abominable Rory, because you like eating ice, you love defrosting a freezer.
Yeah, just anything
What's
involving
up with that?
ice. Yeah. All right, look here, back to the photographs. I mean, yeah, these are huge. They really, at one point, he doesn't just take a picture of the footprint compared to the pickaxe, but there's a photo of the footprints going off into the distance.
As he says, for a mile they followed it.
They go to the horizon. And I mean, when you're up a mountain this tall, this would be a hard place to pull off a hoax. That's what I'll say. I mean, from my very limited knowledge of climbing Mount Everest, I mean, if you're taking into consideration how much oxygen you have in a tank, you're not going to be around making fake footprints in the snow.
You would think, right?
You would think. Again, could this be a deflection for the fact that he didn't actually climb the mountain? I don't know. I gotta say, the footprints in some of these pictures look different than the other ones. Like the ones that disappear into the horizon, that looks almost more like a hoof. They're not three-toed.
I can't tell, though, what direction that's going. But yeah, maybe.
Oh, yeah, maybe I'm looking at the back of the foot.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. I know what you're saying, but they do look like quite large ones. I mean, even if those were hoof-shaped, it's kind of too big to be a hoof. It's like having a big mono hoof. Yeah.
That's a deep print as well.
Yeah. Because I would say, actually, if anything, the prints are they're strangely in a straight line, maybe compared to how like human footprints would look. Yeah, hard to say, but certainly the pickaxe is there for reference, so they are large. They're definitely large.
Pretty big.
But what's kind of most delicious and fascinating about the Yeti, like so many cryptids, is that what appeared to be some amazing discovery for Western visitors, it was only confirming what the locals already knew. Shipton himself described the response from his local Sherpas. Sen Tenzing, who had no doubt whatever that the creatures that had made the tracks were Yetis or wild men, told me that 2 years before, he and a number of other Sherpas had seen one of them at a distance of about 25 yards at Yangboch. He described it as half man, half beast, standing about 5 feet 6 inches, with a tall, pointed head. Its body covered with reddish-brown hair, but with a hairless face. He left no doubt as to his sincerity.
5 foot is not that big.
Yeah,
it's really not. I mean, because the footprints that we see are enormous and they're really deep.
Yeah.
It looks like a towering giant has kind of stomped into the ground. 5 foot?
But think about like a gorilla. You know, those guys aren't necessarily tall, but they're extremely heavy.
Heavy, girthy, buff. Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Yeah, no, look, I'm not pretending right now that all the descriptions sound identically alike, but definitely some through line here. And I love that. I love that the locals are just like, yeah, I know. We've seen it. I've seen it.
Yeah, the people who have been there the longest. It really does add an extra layer of difficulty climbing Mount Everest if the Yeti is real. Because you're already fighting against the elements. Yeah. I don't need to fight against a gorilla.
Chewbacca, yeah.
that lives on the mountain. Like, it's hard enough to just walk up an icy hill, let alone walk up a hill where there is Donkey Kong style, a gorilla throwing barrels at you the entire time.
I was going to say, Mario knows exactly what we're talking about. He's like, it's already a series of ladders and slopes.
Yeah.
And now there's a gorilla throwing barrels. This is absurd.
And then Mario gets to the top and he's like, Rainbow Road? Are you kidding me? This is insane. Where's my cart? I didn't even bring it with me.
It's an interesting point, though, isn't it? Because, people at this moment in history, they're desperate to be the first to climb Mount Everest, and they thought it was impossible because of the lack of oxygen, the sheer freezing temperatures. Yeah. They say when you're in the Arctic, if you sweat, you die. That always freaked me out because they say it's so cold that if you were to start sweating, your clothes would never dry out and you would just freeze to death.
Oh, I thought that was like a metaphor, like if you panic.
Yeah, no.
It's literally
you can't sweat. You can't get wet. It won't dry up again.
Because that's also what you told me right before we went on stage for our first live show.
Yeah.
I said, good luck, kid. And you said, remember, if you sweat, you die out there.
I pulled a piece out of my trouser pocket just to put him on edge. But they thought it was to do with all these physical factors. Maybe is the death rate from climbing Mount Everest due to the 9-foot beast who just pummels you when you get to base camp? Look, you mentioned it's possible this thing's a hoax, but interestingly, more people found prints even earlier than this. In 1944, another British mountaineer, C.R. Cook, was climbing just below the Singalila Ridge on the India-Nepal border when, along with his wife and a group of porters, he discovered a series of large footprints in the mud. The local porters immediately claimed that these were the tracks of Jungli Admi, or the Wild Man, yet another name from the Yeti tradition.
Oh, hell yeah.
Cook wrote, "We laid Margaret's sunglasses beside each print to indicate its size and took photographs. These prints were strange and larger than any normal human foot, around 14 inches heel to toe, with a great toe set back to one side, a first toe also large, and 3 little toes, closely bunched together.
Wait, how many toes?
And 3 little toes that went wee 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 all the way home. We're talking 5. We're talking normal 5 toes. But he describes one big one set back to one side. Rory, looking back at the prints that Shipton took, doesn't that sound familiar?
Yeah. We don't have any pictures of the new prints?
Oh shit, we do.
Whoa!
Oh shit, I forgot I took photographs.
Oh my god, okay, yeah, so...
Oh, okay,
yeah, let me see these side by side. Yeah, this is a different climate here, even though it is high. These ones were in mud with rocks and dirt. Yeah, less exciting, I think, than the original ones. Just because of how a footprint in the snow
Right.
is a photograph.
It hits like a shot of Jägermeister.
Oh, it's so good. Whereas this one, when were these photos taken?
I can't remember how many years, but 1944.
Wow. Yeah, again, these are like pretty high def pictures for such an old time. Even the sunglasses look kind of new. Yeah, these are a lot harder to make up, but cool to see that similar prints are being seen in the area. And these are deep too.
And again, as you say, Rory, these are, I guess, slightly less exciting. You know, a layman like me or you would look at these and go, I guess there was a monkey here. But when you actually try and drill down into what it's supposed to be, is it supposed to be an orangutan or something like that? We are, like I said, 20,000 feet, 14,000 feet in the sky, respectively. None of those animals really should be that high. There could be something, but it shouldn't really be something that looks like that.
If you were these explorers, you'd be kind of pissed off as well, because you hear all these stories about the Yeti guarding the mountain, demolishing travelers that dare try and reach the top. And you're like, all right, fine then, we'll go into the woods. And then he's like, well, I'll be in the woods too. You're like, that's my turf as well. You're like, well, where can we go that you're not going to go? What about China? I'm in China. Apparently, I'm in China too.
Ni hao, bitch. I'm in China. I'm here. Yeah, he is multicultural, but I guess that just speaks to the sheer scale of the Himalayas.
Can you be a wild man and own a passport? I don't know if those two go hand in hand. You can be a wild man if you've ever gone through customs at Shanghai airport. I don't know how this dude is traveling these enormous distances.
Yeah. Like I say, I think it's due to the nature of the Himalayas themselves. The Himalayas are whatever, basically. I don't know if they're the biggest mountain range by breadth, certainly by height. They are absolutely enormous, and they stretch across so much of Asia. And they're a pretty interesting place, and I can totally see why these legends are so rife here, because the Himalayas, I think in pretty much every country they border, are considered kind of very spiritual. I mean, I know lots of mountains are considered spiritual, but I think it makes sense that the highest mountain in the world would be considered a kind of spiritual place. You know, you're literally closest to heaven.
Yeah.
Kind of regardless of what your religious belief would be. So whether you're a Indian yogi or whether you are some other belief in maybe China or somewhere else, you know, yogis have been hiding out meditating in the foothills of the Himalayas for thousands of years.
Right. Yeah. It's funny talking about this stuff as well, because, you know, we grew up in Northern Ireland, and I remember being a kid and having such a limited understanding of the scope of the world. So in Northern Ireland, you know, my family, we used to hike a ton in the Mourne Mountains, which is kind of Northern Ireland's biggest mountain range. And the tallest mountain there, tallest peak, is Slieve Donard, I believe. It's like a probably 3 hours up, 3 hours down hike. Takes kind of all day, and you got a beautiful view. You're up kind of adjacent to the clouds, looking down over the city. And I climbed that one a lot when I was a kid with my family. And I was like, wow, how much taller is Mount Everest? Like, it must be like another hour or something, at least like 2 more hours. Like, I had such a limited understanding of...
I bet it's like a couple days hike. You got to like camp, right?
Yeah. Not unable to comprehend just the scope of how big these mountains are.
Mount Everest is 8,850 meters tall.
And Slieve Donard, because it was a pretty big hike. 45 minutes in, I already had to break out my emergency Kit Kat just to get a little bit of energy for the next section.
It's also 8, but it's 850.
Oh.
So it's, it's just under a 10% of Mount Everest.
That's actually more than I thought.
Kind of more than I thought.
Yeah,
I'll give it.
Genuinely. So if I climbed to 10, no, that can't, well, I guess part of the difficulty of Mount Everest is the climate and the verticality of the slope.
Yeah. No, I think you were about to say I am 1/10 as good.
I think I'm a hero, actually.
You were, because you're in marathon mode, you're like, I could do it 10 times. That means I could climb Mount Everest.
Easily.
Which is, definitely not how it works.
I'll get my mom to pack me jam sandwiches, just like she did when I was a kid.
So I'll just take 10 sandwiches. It's fine.
Save a Powerade for halfway through to boot and rally. And I'll be great. Yeah. 10 sandwiches.
You know what mountain I always thought was scary?
Which one?
K2. I always just thought, because it's the second biggest, isn't it, in the world? And I always thought, because you've got Mont Blanc, you've got Mount Everest, Mount Kilimanjaro, and so on. I always thought, a mountain isn't around when it's got a code name.
Right, it doesn't even deserve a name, because that'll make people want to climb it.
Yeah, it's like, it's giving stay back. And I believe it is the most statistically deadly mountain there is.
Wow.
It is a far higher death rate.
And they named a mountain Kilimanjaro.
Kilimanjaro. And you know what Jaro means in African? On site. We'll kill a man on site.
Kill a man on site. We'll kill a man tomorrow on Kilimanjaro.
And I don't remember what country it's in, so I don't know what language that's supposed to be. But
Mount Everest? How about Mount Neverest? Because you are going to be climbing nonstop if you want to reach the top of this motherfucker. I remember one time I was about to say Everest, climbing Slieve Donard when I was spending a summer volunteering as a camp counselor at good old Camp Shamrock. We would climb it every year. And I won't hear any slander telling me that Slieve Donard is not a dangerous mountain, okay? Because one kid, while we were up there, probably should have been supervising him.
The jam from his sandwich got lodged in his eye, and the sugar stung like hell, and he had to be airlifted out.
He was stung by a bee in the car park. He didn't actually even make it off the mountain. No, he fell off a rock on the way down and broke both of his arms. Immediately. And we had to carry him down on my back down the mountain and then take him to hospital. And he spent the rest of camp with both of his arms in hard casts.
For sure, go home. For sure. Like, I love that he got back to camp, called his parents, and were like, Mom and Dad, could I come home? I broke both my arms in 16 places. And they were like, suck it up. Camp builds character.
Yeah.
You're just trying to get out of it. You never wanted to go in the first place. It's like, he can't even feed himself anymore.
He shouldn't be sleeping in a tent.
Pick him up.
He has to move his entire body like a Power Rangers villain.
Yeah.
He can't move his arms.
Like a Megazord. Yeah. Look, we'd love to, but we're in Magaluf. So we'd have to, our holiday be over, your holiday be over, it'd be a shit show.
Yeah. So it's a dangerous mountain for unsupervised children.
Look, Rory, I'm personally not in base camp anymore. I'm in camp, this is crazy, and we've got some dope physical evidence from a couple of different sources. But I do appreciate this is This Paranormal Life, and we're going to need something else. Because who's actually seen this thing, right? We're going to get into that right after a couple of words from today's sponsors. Like I say, this creature, the Yeti, he's part of the furniture of local Himalayan legend and folklore from various countries. So there are many individual anecdotal sightings, like we heard earlier from one of our explorer friends. But there are also more modern sightings.
Right, because nowadays there's a queue at the top of Mount Everest to reach the summit. So you'd hope with more and more people climbing it every year, we're looking at more and more Yeti sightings.
Not that modern. We're not going that. 1941.
Well, that's back in time.
It's actually back in time.
That's earlier than the other cases. More modern? We've gone back 15 years.
More modern than 2,000 years ago, right? Everything's modern when you think about it. And a Polish army lieutenant.
Let's jump forward all the way back to 1932. Okay.
We're with Polish Lieutenant Sławomir Rawicz, and him and a small group of his men made an epic escape from a Siberian gulag. They didn't even have time to think about anything but survival, and yet they all watched 2 Yetis in a Himalayan valley for over an hour. Sławomir wrote a memoir called The Long Walk, and in it he describes this moment. It's like a little throwaway story where he describes him and his men looking in on this valley, remaining undetected, and he watched these creatures, quote, doing seemingly nothing but shuffling around in the snow for an extended period of time. He goes on, they could not have been much less than 8 feet tall. Their faces I couldn't see in detail, but the heads were squarish, and the ears must lie close to the skull because there was no projection from their silhouette against the snow. The shoulders sloped sharply down to a powerful chest. Their arms were long, and their wrists reached all the way to the level of their knees. Their color was a kind of rusty brown. We decided unanimously we were examining a creature which we had no previous experience with in the wild, in zoos, or in literature. It would have been easy to have seen them waddle off at a distance and dismissed it as a bear or a big ape of the orangutan species, but at close range they defied description. There was something of the bear and the ape about their shape, but they could not be mistaken for either.
Dude is making way too many notes if he just escaped from a Soviet gulag.
Also, I've been shot 3 times in the back since I need to leave. I need to keep going. I need medical attention.
He's writing in his little notebook, the knuckles, hairy yet bare. The men are like, Captain, we have to go. We have to go. We can come back and look for the monkey men later, but they are on the horizon with dogs. Real animals we do know about.
Rory, this is what we like on This Paranormal Life. People, we see it all the time, whether it is serving active members of the military or just bystanders or whatever it is, but people who don't appear to be hoaxers, people who are simply caught up in a paranormal experience,
right?
Who really shouldn't be hoaxing, who they're not the guy with nothing going on in his life who sits in a basement all day just making up stories. This is a guy who's running for his life through the wilderness, and he's like, also, while I was running for my life, something up did happen.
Right. I mean, yeah, is that a good indication that this really did happen? That you're living through one of the most stressful events probably a human can experience, but also you did see a snow beast, and it was definitive enough that you're like, I do have to also mention the creature that I saw. You know, it is important, but I did see this thing.
I think it's cool. I think it's cool that that's the entire story of the Yeti, it seems, because no one else would be up there. No one else would be in these places.
This is a good point.
If they weren't there for some other reason. And we saw it in the beginning. What's cooler than that? The mountaineers being knighted, given medals, and then secretly in their heads, they're like, I need to tell somebody what we saw.
Right.
Like, you know, Hillary and Tenzing are like locking eyes across a big party at base camp, and they're like, we'll tell them tomorrow. Don't tell anyone. Their minds will be blown.
This is like, imagine if there was a paranormal entity that only appeared when you shit yourself. So
I'm pretty sure there's a Japanese yokai for that. I'm certain there is, like a toilet demon.
So anyone that would ever tell you that they experienced it,
yeah,
you know that they really believe it was a dramatic thing for them.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they wouldn't bring it up because they let you know that they shit themselves.
Yeah.
So we're seeing kind of a similar situation. This was 1932. 3?
No, 19, what did I say? 1941.
1941.
Yeah.
I don't know. Was this a time where maybe we didn't know all the animals?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely true.
Probably.
That's definitely true. But I
Back
actually...
then, they would sing Old MacDonald Had a Farm, and it just had one verse. It was moo cow moo. And then that was it. They were like, we don't know what else is out there. Someone says they saw a wolf man on Old MacDonald's farm. We don't know what noise he makes.
Quack Quack wasn't added till 1997. It seems hard to believe, but it wasn't.
And they thought it was the sheep. They had that all backwards. They thought the sheep said quack and the duck said ba. We really had very limited knowledge of the animal world.
It's it's like when you see medieval drawings of elephants and they look like Tamagotchi. It's like they were just making shit up. Making it up. It looks like a Digimon.
I love that the original witness in all of these cryptid cases was Old MacDonald. He's like, I need to tell you something. Out on my farm, I saw a large mammal creature with udders. It went a moo-moo here, it went a moo-moo there. Everywhere, moo-moo-moo.
It's like, okay, the tape recorder is rolling. My name is Old MacDonald and I had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. I did.
It's like a tick he has now.
Oh, yeah. I did.
Please tell us behind like a two-way glass wall.
Please tell us what you saw that night, Mr. McDonald.
Well, E-I-O. I think I saw there was some sort of bird. E-I-O. There's a cluck here, a cluck there. Here a cluck everywhere, a cluck.
We need you to slow down. How many clucks were there? Everywhere. A cluck. Sorry, can we take a break? I need a smoke break.
Old MacDonald in the interrogation room is like, I need a break. He's like, can we take 5? Maybe I can get a drink. And the voice is like,
Of course. We have 99 bottles of beer on the wall. 99 bottles of beer.
MacDonald's like, I'll take one down, pass it around. Now there's 98 bottles of beer on the wall.
So that's fine. I didn't need to know that. Okay, Rory, I'm just going to keep you excited here. I'm going to try and keep the audience excited here. I do have a couple more pieces of evidence.
Okay.
It is not the end of the episode. The next one is a bit wild, but stay with me. You'll remember at the start of the episode, I said Edmund Hillary, who went up with Tenzing up the mountain and successfully conquered Everest, he went back a few years later to try and find the Yeti.
Not to climb it.
That should tell you everything you need to know. Now, it was during that second expedition he chanced upon a place called the Kumjung Monastery in the shadow of Mount Everest. And inside this monastery, he asked the monks if they had heard tell of this ancient legend of the Yeti. And they said, "We'll do you one better, chief. We have a Yeti scalp here."
What are you talking about?
Hillary couldn't believe what he was hearing. He probably spit out his Earl Grey tea when he heard it. They said that this was a sacred relic at this monastery, and they kept it in a glass and wooden box. And amazingly, he convinced them to let him take it back to London for forensic testing.
This is really pre-British Museum, where a lot of countries still trusted explorers from other nations.
Yeah.
To kind of just take a look at that artifact and just check it out for a little bit.
Yeah. Listen here, chaps. In England, we have a little concept called borrowing. We just take it for a while, and then we'll give it back to you, its rightful heirs. And they're like, yeah, no problem. And then as he's walking out, he's like, yes, that's right, chaps, just borrowing for 999 years.
Does this monastery really exist?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, dude, this is real. Look, Rory, you're in safe hands. Here is a photo of the box in the monastery.
Oh, God. Okay.
That is a Yeti head. It's a Yeti scalp.
It looks like half a coconut.
It looks like a wig or half a coconut. Yeah.
What? What is this?
It's a scalp of a Yeti.
How did they scalp a Yeti?
Yeah, that's the idea.
Well, there you go. Me, right? Yeah.
Well, that's what they're saying. Hey, don't shoot the messenger, mate.
I'm gonna need a little more information.
Don't shoot the messenger.
Okay.
Look, interestingly, Kumjung wasn't the only monastery that claimed to be in possession of a Yeti scalp. Numerous others are thought to be enshrined in Himalayan monasteries. British naturalist and anthropologist Frederick Wood Jones, he studied an alleged Yeti scalp in 1954 from the Pangboch monastery in Nepal. And fascinatingly, in both cases, both Hillary's scalp he found and this other one, when they were taken for testing, the results were inconclusive. The lab couldn't pinpoint the exact animal the hairs were supposed to be taken from. However, they were convinced they were not from a bear or anthropoid ape. And then fascinatingly, in the second scalp that was tested, they said there were similarities between the specimens collected the first time.
Look, brother, I'm just impressed this thing is an animal. And not
a coconut.
Not a coconut.
We are, in fairness, quite far from coconut territory. If this was an Animal Crossing beach, you would have to get your friend's friend code, go to their island, get a coconut, and bring it back to your monastery.
So I'm a little confused as to, you said there's more than one monastery that has a Yeti scalp.
Yeah.
Is that like a cultural thing? Because presumably the greatest prize at all would be the whole Yeti.
Yeah.
Would be a rug or a coat made out of this dude.
It must be. It must be. For some reason, that is a cultural thing that we are missing in translation somehow.
Right. Maybe that's like a respectful thing. It's like, hey, we'll take a bit, but we'll leave the body.
Yeah, I have genuinely no idea. I think most people in like Western Europe, the only concept we have of like cutting scalps would be from like Western movies. They would depict Native American tribes as like scalping people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea whether that is a real thing, but clearly in some cultures it is.
I do like the idea of coming across a herd of Yetis and they all look like Danny DeVito. The top is just missing and they just got hair kind of out the sides.
They got a buzz cut.
It's me, the Abominable Snowman. Welcome to the mountain.
It's cold as dick up here.
Have you guys got a hat or something? My head is freezing.
Yeah, it would be nice if they were ethically collected scalps. I like to imagine that the Yeti bodies were found dead rather than they viciously murdered these Yetis and then took the scalp. But we don't know. Look, Rory, we have footprints. We have witness testimony from lieutenants escaping gulags of seeing the beasts. We have local Sherpas witnessing the beasts. Granted, slightly less witnesses than we would maybe like in the modern age, but I do have one final piece of evidence for you, Rory.
Okay.
There is a video.
Whoa, okay.
This was first aired in 1998 and is thought by some to be the only Yeti film ever captured. This is known as the Snow Walker video.
The tape shows a male and female hiker from Belgium who fill 45 minutes of video footage with typical vacation shots of Nepal and their trek through the Himalayas. While climbing a hill, the cameraman turns back to shoot the couple's own footprints in the snow. Suddenly, the camera captures a strange figure.
This is it.
Whoa.
Of course, this film has no context whatsoever. You don't know who made it, you don't know where it was shot, you don't know when it was shot.
Oh, damn.
So basically, this is not evidence.
Well, I bet you wish you'd cut before she said that little soundbite.
Look, that soundbite is Eugenie Scott. She's the National Center for Science Education. She's being hardcore skeptic mode here. She's making a good point, which is we don't have a provenance for this video. We don't have a location of where it was taken.
Right.
Jeff Meldrum is a university primatologist whose interest in ape and gorilla locomotion led him into a study of the Yeti.
Gorilla Locomotion. What a great band name.
Yeah, that's a jam band from Orange County for sure. What's up, dudes? My name's Skylar. This is Tyler and Brody. We are Gorilla Locomotion. We got a little tip jar. If you're liking the tunes, please throw a couple dollars in. This one's called Octopus Lair.
My first reaction was, in watching the Snowwalker footage, was akin to one of the first times I had seen a gorilla up close in a zoo. Its movement and some of the postures that it adopted were strikingly ape-like in character. Using that trackway as a scale, the subject had to be in excess of 9 feet tall.
Okay, so that was Jeff Meldrum, Associate Professor of Anthropology at Idaho State. Rory, what are your first impressions of that footage?
Genuinely more convincing than I thought it was going to be. Even in terms of Bigfoot videos, this is better than the Patterson footage.
Yeah, pretty much straight up.
The only problem that they repeatedly bring up is that allegedly this was taken in this specific area up a very tall mountain. But they've said repeatedly, we have no idea where this was filmed.
Right, so let's get into it. If this were a hoax, it is certainly possible to hoax. I've been giving you quite a lot of this video, but I think it's important because they show the tape that this comes from. And the tape shows this couple hiking in the Himalayas. So as far as I'm concerned, I believe the shots that are not just of the Yeti, I believe that's fine. That's supposed to be of the Himalayas. I think people are pretty happy with that. But I suppose anything is possible. This is the 90s. It is probably on tape. But I guess it is possible probably to splice in footage of somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah.
If you really wanted to. Because that's one of my problems. Like the lady earlier, she goes on to say, she's like, yeah, there's nothing to say this isn't just someone in a gorilla suit. Kind of the same logic as the Patterson footage. But the problem with that would be if this is all from one tape, if this is from hiking up the Himalayas, you can see how hard they are. I mean, right before it shows them hiking up a mountain. Like, look at their gear. Like,
it's pretty intense.
You are not getting up the mountain. Look at that guy's pack. They don't have room for a gorilla suit. Not the size that we saw in that video.
Yeah.
So the only way it could be a hoax is if it was taken somewhere else.
If it was spliced together. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty crazy.
At the end of every episode of This Paranormal Life, we have to decide whether a given case is paranormal or not by giving it a big stamp of a yes or a no. Rory, no pressure to say yes or no in the next 10 seconds, but where's your head at in our investigation into the Yeti?
Doesn't make that noise.
No
for
one
sure.
knows what they sound like. You don't know that.
All right, here's my question. Because I don't know a lot about the climate or the ecosystem up mountains this tall.
Yeesh.
Does anything live up there? Like, surely you do get to a point in Everest where it's like there's not even birds.
Right.
Or bugs. Or, I mean, there's probably some creatures that can, but like presumably there's not even a lot of other wildlife up there for something like this creature to sustain itself on, assuming that it is a carnivore.
Yeah, we do have a variety of things. I think it all comes down to how high you are up the mountain. We have anything from snow leopards.
Whoa.
Which are unbelievably rare, to the Himalayan black bear, which is, if you're looking for things to be mistaken for a Yeti, that's the one. There's a Himalayan tahr, apparently, which is a type of goat. Himalayan goral, which is a little bit more like a goat, kind of a deery looking thing, and a red panda. So
red pandas are up there?
Apparently.
Wow.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite animals.
So there's definitely stuff. There's definitely animals.
Okay.
Many animals that live there.
Well, to support your case, you just named about 3 animals I've never heard of before. And apparently they're up there.
And you're fine with that.
So it's like, is it so crazy to throw a 4th animal in the mix that science hasn't heard of before?
It feels like, I honestly don't even know what I think at this point. Like I do think this is a surprisingly convincing case. It feels just off rip, maybe because it's new to us, I don't know, but it feels maybe slightly more convincing than Bigfoot, just on first impressions. I mean, even in Bigfoot world, we don't have a guy who's like, I've got an arm, right? I've got the arm, and we've tested it.
About the scalps. I was like, we don't have anything. No, we have. We have coconuts.
We've got in ascending order of madness. We've got eyewitness testimony, footprints, video footage, and scalps. So there is evidence.
Where are the scalps now? Where are the scalps now? Do we still have them?
Back at the monastery, probably.
Has science really investigated? I feel like with modern day technology, we might be able to find out whether or not it's a coconut.
So it feels like there's, pardon the pun, mountains of evidence. It feels like maybe the most glaring issues are, in the video's case, sure, a hoax, standard Patterson footage style hoax.
Yeah.
Could be mistaken identity of bears and things. Although I would say the witnesses they've sworn down on God that it wasn't a bear, which is pretty specific.
And who are we to belittle the beliefs of the locals that have lived on this mountain for generations?
Yeah. And maybe the only other thing is as you say, that, you know, climbing Mount Everest is now an industry. There is now thousands of people a year who take to Mount Everest to climb it. But even within that, it's like, we cover that sometimes with Bigfoot. It's like, if these are elusive creatures, it probably, like, let's face it, there probably is only like a couple of main routes up the mountain.
Yeah.
If there's thousands of people climbing a day or whatever, they probably know not to get in the way of it. It's like saying, like, well, if Bigfoot lives in the Pacific Northwest, why is he never in downtown Portland? It's like, he probably knows to stay out of the way.
Yeah. There's not many people going to climb Mount Everest and they're like, I might go from a different side.
Yeah.
The locals be like, no, you're not going to go from a different side because you'll die immediately. There is a path. There's a route you have to stick to. So yeah, be no surprise if a creature this elusive just doesn't go near the path.
So Rory, I'm going to throw it to you. What do you think today? Is it a yes or a no in the case of the Yeti?
I think as paranormal investigator hosting the case, it's your responsibility to come down on a conclusion first.
It's a yes. Oh yeah. It's a yes.
To the snow walker, the abominable snowman, the Yeti, the wild man, all of it. It is a yes. That is going to make today a double yes. That's right. I think the Yeti might be real.
All right, maybe not. But whoa!
I don't know.
The streak keeps going. It is 2025, and it is a perfect streak.
What is happening this year?
Hey, I don't think this is out of left field at all. I thought it would be interesting to look into the Yeti. I wasn't expecting there to be quite so much meat on the bones, specifically scalp meat. It is a weird one, and it is a wild one. But
it is a wild one for sure.
But I do think, hey, a rare cryptid yes.
Hey, all I can say is if we're saying yes to the mantis man, there's a good chance we're gonna say yes to the Yeti.
Oh God.
You forgot about the mantis man for a second, didn't you?
Mamma mia.
You know, Kit and I both bringing important cases to the table.
Did you slip something in my drink? What's up with that?
That was a miracle I pulled that one off. I am slightly scared now because I do know what my case is going to be next week.
Right, you might
already.
need to rejig some of the evidence.
I need to change it up quite quickly. Maybe do another cryptid because we have like a cryptid thing going now for once.
It is cryptids,
Maybe do a
isn't it?
ghost.
Yeah.
Haven't said yes to a ghost in a while.
Wow,
great case.
Thank you.
Kid. Well done.
Yeah, and thank you to researcher Ewen, of course, for pulling together a lot of that crucial data. Really fantastic one. Sometimes when we do these cases, you know, when it's the Menehune of Hawaii, we'll say, you know, hey, maybe we've got to go on location. I'm good, I think. I don't really handle the cold here in Britain at the best of times.
Right.
So I don't know how I'm going to fare in the Himalayas, but we'll look into it.
Yeah, we'll think about it.
Yeah.
At the very least, we should go climb Sleeve Donner.
Right. See if there's anything undiscovered up there.
See if we can find the ghost of that kid that broke both of his arms.
We'll find the arms, the ghosts. I would like to do that, actually. That would be cool. I haven't done it in many years. Look, thank you for tuning in to this one. If we have any listeners in the Himalayas, hope you enjoyed that. Please let us know if you have any of your own insights at thisparanormallifepodcast@gmail.com. And of course, if you cannot wait until next week, there is a great place to toss a coin in the bucket of the paranormal pals. That is patreon.com.
Oh, yeah. Patreon is kind of like Mount Everest. It's a mountain of content where you get to be the Yeti, alone in the wilderness, roaming the various peaks and valleys of the episodes we've released over the years, to the point where you've consumed so much, you don't even know if you're real.
Right.
You know, just like the Yeti himself.
You might listen to so much This Paranormal Life bonus content that you might think you're Rory.
Yeah, you become the wild man or woman.
Could be. It really is that big. I don't know if there's 8,850 episodes over there, but there's hundreds and hundreds.
Maybe hours. No.
Definitely minutes worth. Definitely minutes worth.
For sure.
Okay, over on patreon.com/This Paranormal Life. That is the place where for years and years, this show has been supported by people handing over, say, $5 pending your local currency and taxes.
Yeah.
And in response, you get hundreds of episodes of This Paranormal Life. You get merchandise, shout outs, all kinds of cool rewards.
I like to think of us as the Sherpas of the paranormal world. You know, people support us on Patreon, and we grab their hand. We're their guide to the wonderful world of the paranormal.
Yeah.
And if the oxygen gets a little low, well, it's more important the guide survives, isn't it?
No,
And if the food
necessarily.
supplies get a little low, maybe you start looking a little delicious to the guide.
And like the Sherpa, there's some scary stuff in there we're not telling you about up front. Once you get into the Patreon, we'll tell you about some of the episodes.
There's a reason we're wearing hats. That scalp is gone, brother. Day one.
But it is much cheaper to explore our Patreon than Everest. Costs as little, as I say, £5, $5, something like that.
It's true.
Links in the description of this podcast if you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or if you're watching on YouTube. Hello, Mum. It's in the little description. Click into it. All the links there. Follow us on social media. We just did a bang up live stream over on YouTube, which was a blast.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us there. We have more of those planned, and YouTube's a great place to hang out too. Thank you for tuning into This Paranormal Life. We're going to be back with another double yes.
Oh, maybe.
Next week.
Maybe. Sometimes it's fun to mix it up. Do a different story that's,
Put
maybe...
a sports bet on it. You know what? Go to your local sports betting place and put your life savings on it, because it's guaranteed.
I
It's
don't know about
guaranteed.
that.
The energy of 2025 is unimpeachable.
Skepticism is healthy
So-
sometimes.
Put it all,
good
put
to
your
think
house,
about.
put your wedding ring on double yes next week. Let's do it.
Put your scalp on it. Bet your scalp on it.
We'll be back next Tuesday with another paranormal tale after a couple of shout outs right here on patreon.com.
That's right.
Because we got a couple of shout outs to do. That is one of the rewards you get here in This Paranormal Life.
And we never forget about it. We never forget to do it.
Sometimes you run so long that your brain becomes discombobulated. And that's okay. It's like we're running low on oxygen here too. So a special thank you so much to Adam Burke. Adam Burke is putting in the work when it comes to conquering Mount Everest. He's been training for years. We're talking 2 workouts a day of cardio. Oosh, 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 oosh. He's got every piece of gear imaginable. He's got the best Sherpas in the biz. He's got a jetpack just in case he gets into trouble.
Oh.
And
Seems like you don't need a lot of that other stuff if you've got a jetpack.
he's not planning on using it, but like if it's a bit cold or something, like he could just get it over with. You know what I mean? Just up to the top.
It seems like the temptation from the get-go will be to use the jetpack, though, for most of the journey.
No, like he is up for the challenge, but like if he doesn't like the food when he's camping or something, he'll just like you know.
Or if it's like a little too cold.
Yeah.
Or there's just like,
You don't want to be uncomfortable.
no, jetpack it to the top.
Yeah. Or if his Sherpa, if he's feeling a bit tired, if he doesn't get that much sleep one night. Yeah.
Leave the Sherpas behind. They're like, no, that's the
You've
wrong
got all
mountain.
the food. Yeah, straight into a ravine. Good luck, Adam. Is what I'll say. Also, special thank you to Inja Cecilia Jonsdottir. Inja really got themselves Inja pickle because they were halfway up Mount Everest when the beast came and ravaged all their supplies, leaving them stranded.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why we have so many Explorer patrons lately, but
Wow.
I guess the pandemic changed working remotely for a lot of people. You can get a lot done at base camp.
You can work from Everest.
Yeah.
That's why if you're trying to climb the mountain, do not bring snacks you think the Yeti would enjoy. So, it's a
Beef jerky? Are you out of your mind?
He loves that shit.
He will
gotta
rip
bring,
a man limb from limb for some beef jerky.
You gotta bring like a salad niçoise. Or
Caprese.
couscous. You think he's not gonna want couscous?
Do you think he wants baba ganoush? That's crazy.
Yeah. Even things like a McDonald's hamburger, he's not gonna know what that is.
Yeah.
So something like that
It doesn't resemble food to him. So that's it for today. Thank you so much to Adam and Inja. We will be back next week with more shoutouts, and then we will be back on Tuesday with another paranormal tale for you guys. See you then.
Bye-bye. It's rolling. My name is Mr. McDonald. I had a farm. Yeah.